Welcome to another edition of Africa Sideways. We've got the H6 for you, the H9 for you today, I beg your pardon. The biggest car in Haval's offering. This has got the same 2-litre turbo engine from the H6, but tuned up to 180 kilowatts. Apparently, I was chatting to the salesman, it's a partnership between Toyota and Mitsubishi to make this engine, which sounds like a good engine partnership to me. I just wish Haval advertised that they're partnering up with some of the best in the game, because a relatively untested brand could really benefit from that kind of press. So I've taken this on a trip to the off-road track, and it performed very, very well. Kept up with a Prado 120 without any bother whatsoever. It was actually leading a Prado 120. We had a Subaru along which struggled a bit more, but this thing with 120 mils of ground clearance, low range and a center diff, it really made short work of it. So off-road credentials are all there in bucket loads. And then in terms of on-road, it takes a bit of getting used to. With the extra clearance you get more body roll, but you know, I like a bit of body roll. Always get some twat to go and go 1-for-1. I like a bit of body roll on my cars. So, but once you get the hang of it, the handling is just fine, thanks. The only downside of this car is the fuel economy. Averaging sort of 13.5 liters per 100k city driving. So, and if you give it any kind of leather with a heavy set car, you're always going to be struggling for fuel economy. So what I would like to see is a V6 diesel or like a 3-liter D4D sort of engine coming in here. And if they have a partnership with Toyota, I don't see why that can't be a reality. So all in all, put a good 500 k's on this car. Exceptionally nice to drive. It's got an E handbrake, which I'm not a big fan of, but most of the modern luxury cars have got that. It's got a really nice sunroof, big skylight, lots of space. It's got automatic rear seats, which make getting the seats up and down an absolute breeze. It feels well made. I actually got in a Hilux. I had to park somebody's Hilux the other day, a new one, and the gearbox felt very plasticky. This feels quite upmarket. The buttons feel well made. You know, it doesn't feel like a cheap car whatsoever. Electronic seats. It's got a massager on the seats, seat warmers, seat coolers. It's really got everything that opens and closes. And it's cheaper, so you get all of that at a lower price than you would your Japanese competition. The only thing is, what's this car going to be like in 10 years time with a lot of electronics? So that is always something you got to keep in the back of your mind. So it drives very nicely on the road, smooth as a whistle, no dramas. Sat nav, the lady, the voice is a bit kind of Androidy, so you can see the sort of the Haval technology is still a little bit rough around the edges, but I was very impressed with the you get seat ventilation massage. Let's go level 2 massage. Let's take it up a notch or two. It's good in the traffic with an automatic gearbox. It's got and then when you bury the foot in, yay! It's all there. So you can get a massage while doing some comfy speeds. Gets really nicely into the rear lumbar. Brakes are pretty good. The brakes are definitely better on this than the H6, I'd say. Feels like a totally different car. Very, very strongly made. The only problem in an overland situation is you don't have the diesel option, so your fuel economy is going to be a bit of an issue. And towing this big car, towing with a 2-litre turbo, even though it's tuned up to 180 kilowatts with a big trailer, you're going to be struggling. You really want a 3-litre V6 turbo diesel in this truck, and then you'll be away with the fairies. You can tilt the sunroof. You can just have it like that. Very quiet engine, and it's got an 80-litre fuel tank, which gives you about 500 km. So if you're going to use this for overlanding, the first thing I'd do is quite possibly put a bigger fuel tank on here. Would be a good idea, I'd say. Windscreen wipers are adequate. They're not class leading by any stretch of the imagination, but what is nice is this is a wide car. This feels like American wide. You can have a passenger next to you there, and you get plenty of space to move. It's got the automatic start-stop, which for some people they like. I'm not a massive fan, but you've got hill descent. In terms of off-road prowess, this thing is great. We took it to the off-road track and it really shined. And I'm loving the seat massage. I've been in expensive German cars that don't have the seat massage, so, you know, they're still ironing out a few little foibles, but they've got a lot of things right in this car. Let's bury it in. And 80 up to a click, you know, works fine. You've got an eco mode, you've got a sports mode, which turns all the ponies up. I wouldn't say it's underpowered. It's adequately powered. As I said, I just would like to see the bigger diesel option in here, and then I think it's going to sell really, really well. I see a lot of H2s and H6s on the road, and I think this really has the capacity, if it can come in cheaper than the Japanese sort of your Fortuner, Everest competition, Pajero Sport. This thing has got a chance, because to drive it feels as good. It's got great visibility. I must check out the Euro NCAP rating, but it's all very functional. All the buttons are easily laid out. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to work out how everything works. On the downside, this is still a relatively untried and tested vehicle in harsh African conditions, so I'd want to see what this is like in 10 years time and get an owner's report. So you will spend extra on the Japanese cars, but you get a little bit more R&D have gone into those particular vehicles just through sheer time on the road. I've seen an overland off-road spec of this vehicle, which looks really good with bigger tires on snorkel, rooftop tent. So they have kind of got that market in mind. They just need the right engine in this car. On the plus side, they went with Cooper tires. I'm really happy to see that. On the H6 as well, I mean, you want to be able to have confidence in your tires. It ambles beautifully along the highway. Here we are, just cruising along. Not a care in the world. Quite quiet in this cab, I must say. Heaps of room, loads of leg room. They really do have you covered for space. Quite a loud indicator stalk, but I must say this is a head turner. Everybody likes this car. It does turn a lot of heads, and for good reason. It kind of looks like a Cadillac, one of those ones Conor McGregor gets driven around in. You can and the rappers and stuff. I forget the name, the Escalade or something like that. It's got that big car sort of feel to it. Big grille at the front. This in black. There you go. I mean, it goes. I wouldn't call it slow by any manner of means. But to get that kind of performance out of a 2-litre engine, even though it's turbocharged, you got to work it a bit harder, which means more fuel economy. I think definitely I'd like to see a V6 petrol in here, and a 3-litre turbo diesel, and this could really be challenging your Fortuners and your Everests, which is a very, very popular market in South Africa. A lot of housewives and businessmen and all sorts of people like something they can get off-road in, but still can comfortably get to work and back. So this lumber thing is going a treat here. So all in all, one hell of a good package. I was very impressed with it off-road, equally impressed with it on-road. High sitting position, commanding sitting position. People respect you in this car. They get out of your way. This car's got some. It's got holding. It's got mana on the road, as the Kiwis would say. So on the downside, still relatively untested, and your parts and maintenance and availability still is probably not going to be on the same level as say a Toyota. But I'm impressed with the build quality, generally speaking. It's nice to drive, and it gets a good solid 8 out of 10 on the Africa Sideways. Car rating, looking forward to getting the H2 to drive, and thank you to Thorpe Plumstead for hooking up this review, and we'll catch you next time on Africa Sideways. We really buried it in. Oh, really is a joy to drive this car. Let's see how this automatic seat works. We got Mr. Oily at the controls. Very, very easy, not like the Tornado. It took me a wee while to work it all out, but this is just a flick of a button, and then you do the other side. There we go. You see, a 5-year-old can do it. All the way down. Keep on pressing, bud. There we go. So with the back seats down, you really got a lot of space. For overlanding, I'd say this is legitimately in the conversation. Clearance looks pretty good. 220 miles. Looks wise, it looks like a love child between a 200 series and a Prado. Loads of space in the back. Big 6 here, ladies and gentlemen, and I've just released my first children's book entitled Mr. Oily and the Runaway Lawnmower. Check it out on Amazon in your country. Catch you next time, Africa Sideways.